The shoebill, Balaeniceps rex, also known as the whalebill, whale-headed stork, and shoe-billed stork, is a very large long-legged wading bird. It derives its name from its enormous shoe-shaped bill. It has a somewhat stork-like overall form and has previously been classified with the storks in the order Ciconiiformes based on this morphology. However, genetic evidence places it with pelicans and herons in the Pelecaniformes. The adult is mainly gray while the juveniles are more brown. It lives in tropical East Africa in large swamps from South Sudan to Zambia. The shoebill may have been known to ancient Egyptians but was not classified until the 19th century. After skins and eventually live specimens were brought to Europe. John Gould very briefly described it in 1850 from the skin of a specimen collected on the Upper White Nile by the English traveller Mansfield Parkins. Gould provided a more detailed description in the following year. He placed the species in its own genus Balaeniceps and coined the binomial name Balaeniceps rex. The genus name comes from the Latin words balena, whale, and caput, head, abbreviated to seps in compound words. Alternative common names are whalebill, shoe-billed stork, and whale-headed stork. Traditionally considered as allied with the storks, Ciconiiformes. It was retained there in the Sibley-Ahlquist taxonomy, which lumped a massive number of unrelated taxa into their Ciconiiformes. Based on osteological evidence, the suggestion of a Pelecaniform affinity was made in 1957 by Patricia Cottam. Microscopic analysis of eggshell structure by Konstantin Mikhailov in 1995 found that the eggshells of shoebills closely resembled those of other Pelecaniformes in having a covering of thick, microglobular material over the crystalline shells. In 2003, the shoebill was again suggested as closer to the pelicans, based on anatomical comparisons, or the herons, based on biochemical evidence. 13. A 2008 DNA study reinforces their membership of the Pelecaniformes. 14. So far, 2 fossilized relatives of the shoebill have been described, Goliathia from the early Oligocene of Egypt and Paludivus from the early Miocene of the same country. It has been suggested that the enigmatic African fossil bird Eramapezis was a relative too, but the evidence for that is unconfirmed. All that is known of Eramapezis is that it was a very large, probably flightless bird with a flexible foot, allowing it to handle either vegetation or prey. The shoebill is a tall bird, with a typical height range of 110 to 140 centimeters, 43 to 55 in, and some specimens reaching as much as 152 centimeters, 60 in. Length from tail to beak can range from 100 to 140 centimeters, 39 to 55 in, and wingspan is 230 to 260 centimeters, 7 feet 7 in to 8 feet 6 in. Weight has reportedly ranged from 4 to 7 kilograms, 8.8 to 15.4 pounds. A male will weigh on average around 5.6 kilograms, 12 lb, and is larger than a typical female of 4.9 kilograms, 11 pounds, 15. The signature feature of the species is its huge bulbous bill, which is straw-colored with erratic grayish markings. The exposed culmen, or the measurement along the top of the upper mandible, is 18.8 to 24 centimeters, 7.4 to 9.4 in. The third longest bill among extant birds after pelicans and large storks, and can outrival the pelicans in bill circumference, especially if the bill is considered as the hard, bony keratin portion. As in the pelicans, the upper mandible is strongly keeled, ending in a sharp nail. The dark-colored legs are fairly long, with a tarsus length of 21.7 to 25.5 centimeters, 8.5 to 10.0 in. The shoebill's feet are exceptionally large, with the middle toe reaching 16.8 to 18.5 centimeters, 6.6 to 7.3 in length, likely assisting the species in its ability to stand on aquatic vegetation while hunting. The neck is relatively shorter and thicker than other long-legged wading birds such as herons and cranes. The wings are broad, with a wing chord length of 58.8 to 78 centimeters, 23.1 to 30.7 in, and well adapted to soaring. The plumage of adult birds is blue-gray with darker slaty-gray flight feathers. The breast presents some elongated feathers, which have dark shafts. The juvenile has a similar plumage color, but is a darker gray with a brown tinge, when they are first born. Shoebills have a more modestly sized bill, which is initially silvery gray. The bill becomes more noticeably large when the chicks are 23 days old and becomes well developed by 43 days. The shoebill is normally silent, but they perform bill clattering displays at the nest. When engaging in these displays, adult birds have also been noted to utter a cow-like moo as well as high-pitched whines. Both nestlings and adults engage in bill clattering during the nesting season as a means of communication. When young are begging for food, they call out with a sound uncannily like human hiccups. In one case, a flying adult bird was heard uttering hoarse croaks, apparently as a sign of aggression at a nearby marabou stork, Leptoptylos cruminiferus. Its wings are held flat while soaring as in the pelicans and the storks of the genus Leptoptylos. The shoebill flies with its neck retracted. Its flapping rate, at an estimated 150 flaps per minute, is one of the slowest of any bird, with the exception of the larger stork species. The pattern is alternating flapping and gliding cycles of approximately 7 seconds each, putting its gliding distance somewhere between the larger storks and the Andean condor, Vultur gryphus. When flushed, shoebills usually try to fly no more than 100 to 500 meters, 330 to 1,640 feet. Long flights of the shoebill are rare, and only a few flights beyond its minimum foraging distance of 20 meters, 66 feet, have been recorded. The shoebill is distributed in freshwater swamps of central tropical Africa, from southern Sudan and South Sudan through parts of eastern Congo, Rwanda, Uganda, western Tanzania and northern Zambia. The species is most numerous in the West Nile subregion and South Sudan, especially the Sud, a main stronghold for the species. It is also significant in wetlands of Uganda and western Tanzania. More isolated records have been reported of shoebills in Kenya, the Central African Republic, northern Cameroon, southwestern Ethiopia, Malawi. Vagrant strays to the Okavango Basin, Botswana and the Upper Congo River have also been sighted. The distribution of this species seems to largely coincide with that of papyrus and lungfish. They are often found in areas of floodplain interspersed with undisturbed papyrus and reed beds. When shoebill storks are in an area with deep water, a bed of floating vegetation is a requirement. They are also found where there is poorly oxygenated water. This causes the fish living in the water to surface for air more often, increasing the likelihood a shoebill stork will successfully capture it. The shoebill is non-migratory with limited seasonal movements due to habitat changes, food availability and disturbance by humans. Petroglyphs from Oued Jarrat, eastern Algeria, show that the shoebill occurred during the early Holocene much more to the north, in the wetlands that covered the present-day Sahara Desert at that time. The shoebill occurs in extensive